Kinetics in Face and Eye Behavior, Assignment 3, by Amanda Shaw, Gordon White, and Nada Imera.
According to the text, nonverbal communication is defined as those messages expressed by other than linguistic means. There are four basic components to nonverbal communication, and those are body language, posture, gestures, and face and eyes. Body language is a mixture of posture and facial expressions, where a person portrays a variety of physical states and therefore communicates with others nonverbally. Humans send and interpret such signals subconsciously. Body language is an important aspect of nonverbal communication and accounts for about 50% of communication. It can also be very tricky since body language varies greatly with people, especially within different international cultures. Posture, simply defined, is the position of the body or parts of the body. There are three main types of posture. The first is this is the arrangement of the body and its limbs, or it can also be the rationalized mental attitude. The second type of posture is carriage. This is the characteristic way of bearing one's body. And lastly, the third type is pose. This is how individuals behave effectively or unnaturally in order to impress others.
Gestures. Gestures are movements of the body which have a communicative value. They are an important type of nonverbal communication. There are many different forms of gestures, and the most common one is called illustrators. Illustrators are movements that accompany speech and that cannot stand alone. For instance, if someone asks you for directions to a restaurant, you might say street names and addresses, but the whole time you'd probably point with your fingers and gesture with your hands. If you remove the words from your directions, it is unlikely that the other person would find the restaurant. A second type of gestures is emblems. Emblems are deliberate nonverbal behaviors that have a very precise meaning known to virtually everyone within a cultural group. For example, in North American culture, we all know that a head nod means yes and a head shake means no. A third type of gestures is called adapters, also known as manipulators. Whereas we usually use emblems consciously to express the message, adapters are usually unconscious. For example, you might fiddle nervously with your hands or click a pen during a high-stress job interview.
Facial expressions. There are 6 different emotions from facial expressions: surprise, fear, sadness, happiness, disgust, and anger. Facial expressions can change rapidly and can show a direct change of someone's emotions. Facial expressions are very complex, as we can make a variety of expressions as our forehead, eyes, and lower face can all independently move. Furthermore, expressions can be read differently if there is no context given. In other words, someone looking at a facial expression might feel that the person is expressing one emotion when they're actually feeling something completely different. Expressions within the eyes. The eyes can communicate positive and negative attitudes. If someone looks at us with a positive facial expression, we usually realize that the person is interested in us. However, if someone avoids looking at us when we glance at them, we assume that the person is not interested in us. Therefore, eye contact between people usually shows a sign of involvement, where avoiding eye contact means that we are trying to avoid a connection.
This is a scene between Gordon, who is applying for a managerial position at a hospital, and Amanda, the interviewee.
Hi, Gordon.
Oh, call me Frank.
Okay, please have a seat. So I see here you volunteered at Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Canada. So tell me how your experience there would help you in the hospital.
Oh, I just feel that kids are pretty easy to deal with.
How so?
Hold on 1 second, please. What up? No, I can't talk right now. Alright, thanks. Take it easy. Sorry, what?
How do you feel it will help you in this position at the hospital?
Oh, the kids are easy to deal with.
How so?
Well, all it takes is a nice little slap on the back of the head and puts them in their place, you know?
That's an interesting approach. We'll get back to you shortly.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
High five.
As soon as the scene between Gordon and the interviewer begins, Gordon's attention is not all there. He doesn't acknowledge the interviewer's approach at a handshake at the beginning of the interview and is observing the rest of the room. Throughout the interview, Gordon has poor posture. He is slouched, not directly facing the interviewer, and has limited to no eye contact. Midway through the interview, Gordon answers the phone call. This shows that he's not fully interested in the interview and is bored with the situation. At the end of the interviewer politely reaches out for a handshake while Gordon gives a high five. This gesture suggests that Gordon has no interest or respect in the position or the interviewer.
This is a scene between 2 friends in a hospital cafeteria setting.
Hey, I got the job as a lab tech here.
Yeah, I started last week.
How is it?
It's going really good. I really like it.
Oh my god, guess what? I just assisted in vaginal birth.
Really?
Yeah, the lady's been in labor for like 28 hours.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and she was like screaming and screaming and screaming. When the finally the baby came out, the placenta just hanging there from the umbilical cord. It looked like a piece of red meat. And then basically it's just this blob of red blood cells and fat. And the father just started eating the placenta.
Oh.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Do you want to see a picture?
Oh God.
What did I say?
As you can see at the beginning of the conversation, both individuals are attentive to one another and excited to see each other. You can see this because they are both smiling and have direct eye contact with each other. As the conversation continues, the nurse interrupts and takes charge of the conversation. You can see that the lab tech is confused and almost sad because a question was asked and the individual didn't wait for a response. In the next piece of the conversation, you can see that the nurse is very enthusiastic about what she is talking about. You can see this by her happy facial expression as well as her big hand gestures. On the other hand, the lab tech is disgusted about the topic as this expression is portrayed in her face. Furthermore, she is leaning away from the speaker almost as a reaction to get away from the conversation. In this last part of the scene, it is the nurse that changes emotions, as her facial expression and hand gesture implies that she is confused as to why the lab tech ran away.